Hello everyone, we are group 1 from Kuliah 17. In this video, we will present a subtopic about the simplest invertebrates. But first, let me introduce myself. My name is Nur Farsha Kristina binti Muhammad Rosli. I will explain about sponges and why sponges are considered to be the simplest animal.
When people think of a sponge, they usually imagine the cleaning sponges for washing the dishes or for washing the car. Cleaning sponges are synthetic these days, but they used to come from the ocean. Back in the days before we had synthetic sponges for housework, cleaning sponges did come from the ocean. They were harvested by hard-hit divers walking along the ocean floor in heavy weighted boots with rake-like tool to pluck the sponges off the bottom. After that, the crew set to work cleaning the sponges. Then they were hung to air dry. Finally, they were trimmed, sorted and sold to the public. Natural sponges are still harvested in nearly the same way today, but the synthetic sponges have spared the lives of countless ocean sponges. Some sponges are quite colorful, while others are drab. They also come in all shapes and sizes. There are tube sponges, vest sponges, barrel sponges, rope sponges, and many other types. An example of sponges is phylum Porifera. Sponges might not be very exciting and they certainly don't have much personality, but they're an ancient animal that has been living in the oceans for at least 500 million years. They can't crawl around or swim, but they are very good at reproducing and feeding themselves by pumping water. So, chances are, sponges will continue to populate the oceans longer than people will populate the earth. Why sponges are considered to be the simplest animal? Primarily because their bodies are not organized in organ systems or even tissues. Sponges are the only animal that lack of true tissues, such as muscles. They have only a cellular level of organization and have only a few cell types, which is called a cell. These are the reasons why sponges are considered to be the simplest animal.
Hello everyone, my name is Siti Nuraina Sofia and I will be presenting on how sponges respire and reproduce. Now, let's take a look at how sponges respire. The beating of the flagella produce water currents, which flow through the pores into the central cavity and out through the osculum, the upper opening of the body. Did you know, even a simple sponge only 10 cm tall is estimated to filter as much as 100 liters of water each day? All of a sponge cells are able to acquire the oxygen they need for cellular respiration by diffusion of water.
Assalamualaikum and hi everybody. My name is Nur Alia Batrisha binti Muhammad Rashid and today I'm going to talk about structure of a sponge. This is the structure of a sponge. First, look at the wall of a sponge. It contains two layers of cells, which are outer epidermal cells and inner collar cells. When we zoom in into the sponge wall, we could see that it consists of spicule, pore, amoebocyte, and epidermal cell. The collar cells or choanocytes have nucleus and flagellum, while we could see that some amoebocyte is located near to it. Do remember that the collar cells is an important cell for a sponge. We will talk about its function later. Next, we have spicules. Spicules are a small needle-shaped structures that have different types. This is why it has been used to clarify sponges.
Now, I'll explain the 3D model of sponge. Usually, a wall of sponge contains two layers. One is the outer layer, which has epidermal cells, while the inner layer contains collar cells. This blue-colored fish-like structure is known as the collar cell. The head contains the nucleus. The long tail is known as flagella. The shorter ones are called collar. The flagella beads helping the collar cell to move through the pores, flowing together with water. Collar cells are usually involved in the feeding process of sponges. The purple colored structure over here is known as amoebocyte, which transports nutrients from cell to cell. The yellow star-like structure over here is the spicule, which forms an internal skeleton for the sponge. Osculum is the large opening outside through which the water exits after passing through the sponge. Waste diffuse into the water and the water is pumped through the osculum carrying away the sponge's waste.
Sponges can reproduce both asexually and sexually. They reproduce asexually by fragmentation or by budding. During budding, a small protuberance appears and gradually increases in size until a complete organism forms. Budding produces colonies of sponges that can become quite large. During sexual reproduction, eggs and sperm are released into the central cavity and the zygote develops into a flagellated larva, which may swim to a new location.
Now I'll explain how sponges feed. Sponges live attached to the seafloor. Because they are attached, they are called sessile, which means immobile, since they are fixed and cannot move. And because they cannot move from one spot, in order to obtain food, sponges pass through water through their bodies in a process known as filter feeding or also suspension feeding. It is called filter feeding because it filters suspended particles from the water by a straining device, which in this case are the pores in the sponge and also flagella of the collar cells. Filter feeders, like sponges, must filter the water to separate out first the organisms and nutrients that they want to eat from those that they do not want. Sponges feed by straining food particles from water. As water enters a sponge, it carries tiny organisms such as bacteria and protists. These microscopic food particles that pass between flagella and microvilli are engulfed by the collar cells and then digested by them in food vacuoles. Fun fact, a sponge the size of a teacup can remove food from 5,000 liters of water each day. That's enough water to fill a truckload that brings 2 liters of drink bottles. Thus, this proves that sponges are really efficient when it comes to removing food particles from water.
Now, I'm going to talk about how a sponge produces water currents and its function. As we all know, all living things need to do cellular respiration so they can live. This is the same as a sponge. All of a sponge cells acquire oxygen they need for cellular respiration by water diffusion. This is when the collar cells plays an important role in this process. More specifically, the flagella. When the flagella located at the collar cells is beating, it will produces water currents. Water contains oxygen, so the water current produced will help to enhance the diffusion of oxygen into the cells of the sponge. Thus, the sponge cells can get sufficient amount of oxygen for cellular respiration. The water currents will flow through the pores into the central cavity and out through the osculum, which is the upper opening of the body.
Assalamualaikum everyone, my name is Imran Hafizi Rosli and I will be present on the difference between Nadira and Tenephra.
Before that, let me share with you the similarities between Tenephra and Nadira. First, it is consists of coelenterate animal with hollow guts. Next, it contains a mouth which is surrounded by tentacle. Both of them are diploblastic animal. And next, it is contain mobile organism. And lastly, the similarity between Nadira and Tenephra is exhibit external fertilization. First, the difference between Nadera and Tenefra is Nadera is referred to a phylum containing invertebrate with specialized stinging structure in the tentacle that surround the mouth. The stinging cell, we call it as cnedocytes. Each cnedocyte has a fluid-filled capsule. We call it as pneumatocyst. When the trigger of the cnidocyte is touched, pneumatocyst is discharged. While the Tenephara is referred to a phylum of coelenterate which consists of cork jellies. Most of Tenephara doesn't have stinging cell and capture their prey by using sticky or adhesive cell, or we call it as coloblasts. Nadera is exhibit radial symmetry while the Tenephara is exhibit biradial symmetry. Nadera is highly diverse animal while the Tenephara is show less diversity. Next, Nadera is reside mainly in shallow coastal water. However, some freshwater, brackish and oceanic are known, while the Tenephara is usually found in warm water or live in exclusively marine habitat. Other than that, the difference between Nadera and Tenephara is Nadera is seaside or fish-swimming invertebrate marine, while the Tenephara is swim by comb plates. Nadera is contain an incomplete digestive system, meanwhile the Tenephara is contain a complete digestive system. Nadera can be either unisexual or hermaphrodites, while the Tenephara can be only hermaphrodites. The example of the Nadera is jellyfish, coral, hydra, and sea anemones, while the Tenephara, the example for Tenephara is comb jellies. That's all the difference between Nadera and Tenephara. That's all from us. Thank you for watching.